Okay, okay. Mm-hmm. Random internet hiccups, sure. Gotta get those out of the way early. Yeah. Let's try this one. Okay. Yep, yep. That's a little bit more stable, I think. Only losing about 16% of frames tonight? Yeah, very good. Alright, let's get into this. Hey there, hi. Oh, I'm tiny. Let's make me a little bit bigger. Yeah, shall we? Yeah, just gonna put myself in the corner here. Hey there, hi there, Hyde here. It's been a while. Probably a lot longer than it seems, right? Like, I haven't been putting out content or anything either, have I? We'll get into that. We'll get into all the joys of what's going on with Hyde and Hyde's channel here in a little bit. But first, let's do the gotcha, yeah? We got a bobber? Some kind of bobber. It reminds me, we snapped our line the last time, right? Oh, my voice. So, if you can hear it, you can hear it. I'm sick. I got sick, I don't know, a while ago. And I have been sick for a couple weeks now. I want to say 2 weeks. I have been sick for 2 weeks. Hi Diana, welcome to the stream. No, I wish I were. Unfortunately, not this case. We also have other issues to discuss as well. Like, I have not been putting up videos. There's a reason behind that, yeah. Where's my live bait float? Yes, very sad. I guess we can get right into that. Other than being sick and how my voice and recordings would sound because of it, I've also run into some tech issues, right? And well, there's not really much I can do about them right now, right? Like, next week is American Thanksgiving, right? I don't know if I need far range floats. I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be a live bait float. No. Universal? I don't want a universal float. Sorry, my brain's a little bit out of it. I guess we'll just take this one and attach this one. We need that though. We lost our last one. So yeah, I've got some tech issues that I've been working on, right? So one of the issues is my computer is not charging anymore. And it seems to either be an AC adapter issue. Oh, good rain. Fantastic rain on my parade, thank you. Oh, we didn't sell our fish. We didn't sell our fish. Okay, let's do that first. So, yeah, it's not charging very well. So it's either an AC adapter issue or a battery issue. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. You thought I was streaming on a PC? No. No. You don't get graphics this crusty from streaming on PC. Um, to make it worse, like, this PC is not a gaming laptop. Yeah. Scratch that, reverse it, make it work, right? It's not a gaming laptop. It's very much a do-your-taxes kind of laptop that I've been making work because I don't feel like upgrading. But it might be finally time to start thinking about upgrading. I think I'm gonna maybe go a bit longer on it. But I've also been working on my old... I didn't even change the bobber. You know, it doesn't matter. The bobber's fine. I've been I've been all over the place. Like, my brain is fried. The last couple days especially, I have been spending all my free time working on tech issues. Not just for this laptop, but also for my ancient gaming laptop, which is still better, graphics-wise, than the one I'm using today, despite being about 11 years old. I stopped using that shortly before I started streaming, as it were. Uh, it crashed on me, and I didn't feel like fixing it. Because you never have the installation media for, like, 11-year-old technology, right? You'd have to be crazy to keep installation media for 11 years. And I didn't feel like messing around with that. But ever since this one started having battery issues, which may cause the stream to end early, sorry if it does, yeah, I've been thinking about redundancies in VTubing, right? And currently I don't have any redundancies. So if this thing fails, I have everything necessary backed up so that I could actually, you know, migrate my model and my settings and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like Hyde would be gone forever. But Hyde would be gone, and I couldn't do anything about it until I replaced the PC or whatever else, right? Oh, hiccups. Very good. Thank you, Internet. Very good. So I've been trying to, for the last 3 or so nights now, just all of my free time, from the end of my work into whenever I go to bed. I've been working on that ancient behemoth of a thing. And I actually got it running with Windows 7. That should tell you all you need to know. But it's still missing drivers, and I can't upgrade it to Windows 10. I'm not sure if that's because it can't read the installation boot drive, or if that's because I need to do something else. Find a missing driver. Because it's very possible that I am missing drivers. I've been downloading drivers non-stop for 2 nights now. And it's great, let me tell you. Digging through old archives and manufacturers that no longer even support your product. It's great. Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice. But, yeah, I managed to get that somehow mostly up and running. Now, my latest endeavor is to try and install Linux Cinnamon on it, right? Yeah, Mint. I figured Linux might be able to help me address any driver issues, right? Like, if I am missing drivers, Linux would have a better opportunity of figuring them out than I would. I'm sure of that much. I've never used Linux before. Linux Cinnamon seems at least slightly comprehensible to me, you know? I don't know if it's exactly what I would do, given the opportunity. I've always used... why am I using threadbait? Oh, because my line snapped, right. Very good. I've always used Windows or Mac, right? Linux was always intimidating. I don't know. I'm not much of a code monkey, and I can't code at all. So, Linux is just very intimidating to me, you know? I'm sure a lot of people will say, no, Hyde, actually, Linux is very easy to use, it's very intuitive. And maybe it is. Maybe it is. But in my experience, I don't know. It just seems slightly scary to me, you know? Yeah. We'll attach that. Uh, Always wanted to try Linux, but I agree it is intimidating. Yeah, isn't it? Like, what is a kernel? What does it mean for a kernel to be tainted? These are things that I had to learn. Well, first of all, I had to learn how to make installation boot drives, which was a hassle, right? You think that anyone my age ought to be able to do that kind of simple stuff, but I didn't. I didn't know how. So, that was fun. And then I had to make them somehow compatible with this ancient hardware, which I somehow managed to half do. I am failing my installations of Linux. It just seems like maybe I need to go to an older build of Linux Mint. But again, Mint looks, at least, do I not have minnows? Did I lose all of my minnows? I guess I lost. Yeah, okay. Fine, we'll use Catus fly larva. Yeah, that's fine. We'll go get minnows after this. It is very intimidating, though, for a Windows user. Whenever something goes wrong, when I boot up the Linux installer from disk or drive or whatever, it makes me worry because I can't, like, just go Control-Alt-Delete and say, Task Manager, stop this. Right? Like, it's like taking the training wheels off, right? Only, you're taking off the training wheels when you're teaching someone how to ride a bike in a gravel parking lot. True story, that's what happened to me. When I was learning how to ride a bike, we had these tricycles, right? And we also had these bicycles with these nice training wheels. Only, unfortunately for me, when I was young, my brothers, my siblings, they abused them. They abused them. They tried to run them down ramps and downstairs, and they were very fragile by the point that young Hyde got to them. So when I was learning how to ride on one of those, it was in a gravel parking lot, and the front tire kind of fell off. I didn't know that could happen, but it can apparently. And yeah, I face planted into gravel. Which is why to this very day, I still have never ridden a bike. Yeah, so I don't know how to ride a bike. So whenever someone says, it's just like riding a bike, I have no idea what that means. I have no experience of riding a bike. So young Hyde, yes, yes. Yes, I am the youngest. It's, it's true. We're not getting any bites on this. But yeah, I am the youngest, and I got a lot of hand-me-downs, that's true. I will say, however, I learned how to ride a scooter, which requires a similar kind of balance, I think. I'm not quite sure. Like, I have used exercise bikes, the ones that are mounted to places, right? So, I feel like maybe, maybe I could pick up riding a bike, but I'm not sure, right? Maybe I couldn't. Maybe I would just fall face first into another gravel parking lot, right? Yeah, we're gonna buy these. We have enough money, don't we? We can just keep buying these forever and ever. Only child? Ah. I just watched a YouTube video about someone who was an only child. Northern Lion, if you like his content. Yeah, he was an only child, and he was playing Binding of Isaac co-op with Dan Giesling. If you don't know who that is, just a YouTuber and streamer. Oh yeah, you know him? Very good, very good. I used to fall asleep to his Binding of Isaac runs all the time. His philosophy of thank you for the company is exactly what I did it again, didn't I? My mind is all over the place. Thank you for the company is exactly my kind of motto, right? When I started streaming and making content, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be the kind of person that would say, thank you for the company. How do this? There we go. My mind is just broken today. Yeah, there we go. Live fish. It's not how I like to hook them, by the way. That is not the proper way to hook a live fish. It's a great way to lose your bait and not catch a fish. But, yeah. He was talking about, Dan Giesling was talking about NL being an only child and having only child syndrome. I've never even thought about it before, right? Like, having siblings is something I always had. I grew up with siblings. Just one day they sprouted out of thin air, you know? No. Being the youngest, I always had them. And, it blew my mind to even think about people not having siblings. And not knowing the experience of hand-me-downs or sharing or, I don't know, fighting in the back of a car. Things like that. I take those experiences for granted, I guess. But, they kind of just became part of who I am as a person, to the point where I don't even take a second thought about them, you know? Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I was talking about resurrecting my old laptop, right? Yeah. So if I can get the drivers for the graphics card working, I could probably at least play Fallout New Vegas on it. Only child syndrome is an outdated idea overall. Well, I have no idea, right? I've been out of school for a very long time, so not only are you probably more of an expert in the field than I am, I'd have to imagine you are, given, you know, what you've said before. I'd hope so. I'd really hope so. Yeah. Might be a little truthlessly a myth. I don't know about truth or myth. I think a lot of ideas get blurry. And, I don't mean to step on your toes in your field of expertise here, you know? But, I do think there's an element of fishbowl bias, right? Like, the fishbowl bias is non-controversial. People get stuck in their fishbowls just like I do. Just like I was talking about, where I can't imagine not having a brother or not having a sibling to have to share things with. I think sometimes people get used to some experiences like that, and I think that might be the basis for only child syndrome, if you want to call it that. What I think it is, you know, just typical upbringing, right? It doesn't have to be an only child. I've seen plenty of spoiled people with siblings, right? I think that's all it is. Reinforced behaviors from early childhood. So I don't want to call it truth or a myth. I think it's misdirection in a way, right? Like it's a lateral thing, if I had to guess. Again, I'm not an expert in the field, so don't let me step on your toes. You probably know more about it than I do. But I found it interesting, right? Thought-provoking. That, that little element of the fishbowl bias in my own life was revealed by that conversation. So I don't know. I'm not an only child, and I don't have any experiences of being an only child, right? Like some people with siblings weren't always, you know, people with siblings, they were the oldest child, and they didn't have siblings, right? So some people with siblings didn't always have siblings. It's one of those subset questions. You'd probably see that on an SAT question or something, right? All A's are B's, but not all B's are A's, or something like that. I never did well with those logic questions. Like, numbers and letters don't mix. Good point. I don't know what the good point is. Probably fishbowl bias and early life upbringing, right? Yeah. I think a lot of my problem was, I think my problem's mostly genetic, but I think a lot of problems are um, socialization, right? Early life socialization. But there are a lot of genetic problems out there. I would hate to discount genetic problems because they do exist. And some people are just wired the way they are. So I can't discount that either. This is why I did not get into humans, right? Like, I did not study humans. I don't even know what it means to be a human, right? Like, I don't have any experience being a human. I just mostly exist, right? Um, I find humans too complicated. They're too complex a system. I don't like it. There are too many variables, and you can't test them, right? There are ethical violations if you go about testing them without their knowledge, and then when you inform them, like, you're ruining your results to some degree. I don't want... Okay, that's very charged language, isn't it? Ruining your results. I don't mean ruining, but you are altering them, right? It says similar things. I barely qualify as human. Yeah, yeah. Maybe, maybe we'd see eye to eye, right? A gathering of barely humans. I always thought of myself as a sort of defective human, right? We're all defective in some way or another, right? I think we all have our, oops, I'll lower the drag. We all have our defects. When I was being built in the factory, there were things that, you know, quality assurance didn't catch. Everybody has those. And I'm quite fortunate in some respects, right? And that most of mine have been pretty mild defects. Good human? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I assure you that there are defects if you crack open the lid and you start digging around in my RAM. They're just faulty RAM. I don't have the random access memory. That's one defect. But I got plenty of others. Don't ever let me tell you I don't have defects. I'm not a perfect human being, and I don't really know anyone who is. That reminds me of a children's book that I read when I was younger, right? It was about a kid who found a book in a library about how to be a perfect human being, and it had him do this series of random things, like wearing broccoli around his neck for an entire day. Just doing the most insane things that it could do. And at the very end, he got so frustrated with it, and he finally read the last chapter, and the last chapter's like, yeah, if you actually do these things, you won't be perfect. You'll never be perfect. So it was a very heartwarming message, right? This troll of an author inside of the book just created this troll book to get children to, I don't know, accept their own imperfections. A nice story. Stuck with me. um, that's funny. It is a little bit funny, isn't it? But sometimes that's what it takes, right? I think we could get that back into the fishbowl bias discussion, right? Sometimes in order to get outside of your typical fishbowl, I can't say you're getting outside of the fishbowl, but maybe you're looking in a different direction in your fishbowl. You need to do different things to shake up your perspective, right? um, how much should I talk about systems that I don't understand, like memory, neuroscience, and sociology, and psychology? Really, I could go on all day about all the topics I don't understand. But, yeah, sometimes I think if state-based memory is anything to go by, I think changing your own activities is a great way to start changing your cognitive behaviors as well, right? So it's just like getting sober after being drunk for a long time. That sobriety will make you see the world differently. And then you'll start thinking differently, right? That's the essence of cognitive behavioral therapy anyway. What is this? What did I catch? This is a catfish? This is the tiniest catfish I've ever seen. Looks like a tadpole. Doesn't it look like a bullfrog tadpole? Oh, that is so tiny. Gross. What was I talking about anyway? I was talking about Linux, wasn't I? Yeah, yeah. Let's get into something else, baby catfish. Yes, not a shark. Kittenfish. Oh. Oh, I like that. I wonder if there are kittenfish. I know there are dogfish, right? But are there kittenfish? The world may never know. In fact, is the dogfish a catfish? I think it might be. I think it might have whiskers. That's the only time when a dog is a cat, and a cat is a dog. Unless you're in paradise, and you're getting a dog slipping through the doors to heaven. Yes. My mind really is all over the place. I have been so fried as of late. It really is, from the end of my workday to pretty much the moment I sleep. I've been working on these computers, one after another, for several days now. And it's been great, yeah. So my latest trial was trying to get Linux Mint Cinnamon on the old one. And I was almost there, right? Like, I was resizing that. It was resizing the partitions. I don't know what that means. I kind of understand, maybe, that resizing the partitions is making partitions different sizes. That's about it. I know what a partition is, right? Like, my drives are partitions. Resizing them? I have no idea what that means. So I was at that step, and I guess it crashed because it was taking too long, which is not great. But that's okay. That's okay. I can try again, right? I might have to try a new boot drive. That'll be fun. Running into the same issue as Windows 10 upgrades. I don't know. But I think I'm getting there. And if I can get there, maybe we will have less crusty video. That'd be nice, right? Because you can stream in Linux Mint, as far as I know. There is OBS, and there's also Steam, and yeah. I haven't been aware that I've been catching catfish this entire time. So I will be using outdated graphics cards, but they will still be better than anything I am currently using. Integrated graphic card. Yeah, I'm gonna fry this laptop eventually from using the integrated graphics card, right? I've been abusing it for the last year and probably a half now. Yeah. So that's why we're doing a lot of Switch stuff and a lot of indie games, if you haven't picked up on it. I think I've done a fantastic job of working within the boundaries of my limitations, right? Like, I have to use the simplest editing software possible. But I actually like that, right? I think there's something that appeals to me in that, using the simplest tools possible. I don't want to say like I'm a hunter-gatherer out there napping flint to make stone arrows, but that's kind of what it feels like I'm doing. I am chipping away at the digital architecture to sort of make it almost what I want it to be. And a lot of times when I've been making content, I've had this idea of how I want a video to turn out. And I never accomplish it, but I always try to think outside of the box. And sometimes it works. Sometimes I get close to what I wanted. And that makes me feel good about my content, right? Like, it could look as awful as it does. But I'm very happy with some of the videos and how they turn out, because they're almost like I imagined them. Which I think is pretty great, you know? Actualization is part of the process. At least as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, there we go. If I'm not actualizing my own ideas, I don't feel like I'm making anything that's worth making. I'm sure I could spit out content right now if I wanted to. Yeah, I hope it's water too. I'm pretty sure it's like 90% water. Water is better for recovering. But you know, stress is one of those things that's probably correlated to most diseases and deaths out there. Did you know that every death out there is caused by a lack of oxygen to the brain? Yeah, I bet you didn't know that. Car accident? Lack of oxygen to the brain. Uh, Drowning? Lack of oxygen to the brain. Lack of oxygen to the brain? Lack of oxygen to the brain. It's amazing, right? Every death out there that has ever been or ever will be, probably. Maybe not ever will be. Maybe we'll get past that, right? Maybe we'll get past breathing oxygen some point. Strongly agree with you in terms of stress. Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know anything about medical sociology, but whenever I look at people who die young, it's always people who have very stressful jobs. Like, I had family, a relative, not immediate, but he died pretty young. And, it was a heart attack. A heart attack at his age. Probably pretty uncommon that you would die from it. But, he did. He had a very stressful sort of life. And part of it was his job. And he died on his job. So that was not great. But yeah, it always seems to be the case that stress is just one of those things that makes you age prematurely. I've never seen a stressed person look young. Even when they are. They always look tired, like me. And they always look sickly and pale. Like they're not getting enough sunshine. I don't know anything about medicine. And I barely even studied biology, right? I did the bare minimum for biology. I did a little bit of organic chemistry, just a tiny bit. And that's about as far as it went. Which is interesting because there are thousands of minerals out there that require bioactivity, like biological activity, to secrete them, right? I'm not even... What is happening to my hand when I reel? Do you see that? Like the hand holding the rod seems to undulate while I'm reel... Oh. That's the spinning reel behind it, okay. I thought I was going insane there. I am going insane there. But yeah, there are thousands of mineral species out there that need bacteria, or archaea, or even multicellular organisms to secrete them or help them in the process somehow. We wouldn't have a lot of things like bioappetite. Bioappetite tends to be what? Fluoroappetite? Yeah. Interested in the idea of weathering? Chronic stressors. Oh. Biological aging. That's a good... Ooh, I like that. We're treating people like stones here. I like that a lot. Caught a big catfish. This isn't no baby. The telomere. Yeah, telomeres are the little ends on what? Genes? Or not genes, chromosomes, right? And those dictate how many times something can replicate, if I'm not mistaken. Telomeres. Yeah, that would be interesting. Because that would change how you would define age from something that would be like chronological to something more number of replications for a cell. Which I think is probably better, but it's probably also not as useful as something as easily identifiable as you went around the sun one entire time. I don't know. I've never heard of this, but it sounds very interesting. And I've always wondered if chronic exercise might be bad for a person, because you end up, you know, using up your telomere lengths. Over a decade older than their actual age. Oh yeah, well, it's a paradigm, right? All paradigms start somewhere. Everything is worth researching, right? I've never been one to shy away from saying everything needs to be examined. Literally everything. And I don't think... Like, there is a point where you have to be concerned about the old guard of a paradigm, right? So I don't think we should ever say you're not allowed to talk about this topic if you're not an expert in this field. I think you have to be very careful when you are talking about the topic, though. Because again, we don't have the expertise of someone like a geologist isn't going to be able to talk sociology. But maybe you can bring this idea of weathering into it, right? And I think that interdisciplinary colloquia is probably a good thing in general. And I do think discussion should always be encouraged instead of squashed. Maybe I'm just conspiracy theorist at heart. I am. But I do think that there is an element of, I don't know, paradigmatic hesitance, right? Interdisciplinary work is needed. Yeah. Well, you know, Thomas Kuhn said that the old guard weren't convinced they were replaced. And that seems to be the case, doesn't it? Yes. Very unfortunate. But it's the truth. And I don't see that changing. If I spent 30 years of my life making, you know, a body of work related to one paradigm, and then suddenly someone told me, actually, there's this new way of conceptualizing the problem that reduces a lot of problems elsewhere. I don't know how I would feel about that. Like, I would probably feel like, my life, what did I do? So I can understand that, right? The old guard has reason to be invested in their old paradigms. It makes perfect sense. And I can't even say it's a bad thing. I can say it's probably bad for science and inquiry as a whole, but it's probably not a bad thing for the human condition. And personally, I care a lot less about science than I care about humans. Even though, from an individualistic perspective, I don't really care about humans all that much. We can go extinct. It's fine. Yeah? Yes, it is like going up against a block wall sometimes when you're dealing with those older paradigms. I don't know. It's one of those things, right? Like, I understand it, but I also don't like it. I just don't have anything better. You know, I remember reading or hearing that the price of addressing a problem is the cost of a solution or something like that. Yeah, the price of a problem, if you bring a problem up, is the cost of a solution. So if you have a problem, you need to propose a solution, or else you're gonna get nowhere. That's where I think a lot of postmodernists failed, right? Like, a lot of postmodernists could say, yeah, actually, this idea that you've been working on with your modern philosophies, it's actually all crap. We can throw it all out, because it's illogical. And they're not wrong. They're really not. But at the same time, a lot of them didn't really propose viable solutions. Like, some of them tried. I'm very happy that they tried. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like we kind of dug ourselves into a hole there, and we ended up, I don't know, stuck at the bottom. No way out, no shovel, just dirt pouring over us. Impossible to test? Yeah. Not only impossible to test, but when we're talking like Nietzsche, and we're talking about the Übermensch, and making, what was it? Will to power a reality? Like, even he was saying, actually, this is highly improbable, highly unlikely, but it's possible, you could do it. Well, yeah, but what about the people who can't do it? What about the people who fail to do it? You're not offering them anything, despite having killed God. So now what do? I don't know. I guess you consume. That seems to be the message in America. You don't have, value brands, value, pop culture icons, value celebrities, value sports stars. That's essentially what happens. They're the new idols. So, I don't know. It's, uh, you have to have something to propose in advance. Pain? Why pain? Oh, I'm talking about America. I probably shouldn't do that. You got me started, Diana. You got me started. Yeah. Ah, that too. Yeah. When my brain gets all fried like this, I'm usually very distractible, and I don't really usually understand what I'm saying until I've already said it. Like, some of the filters go away. It doesn't have anything to do with what I'm drinking, though. I haven't even had a full drink today. I haven't been drinking at all lately. Today is probably the best I've felt in a long time, so I decided to have a drink for this stream, because otherwise I figured I'm just gonna complain about my computer and tech issues all night. Which I didn't want to do, right? I'm so much happier to be talking about, things way outside of my field of expertise. Capitalism and consumerism, economics, and, I don't know. What is consumerism? Is it a philosophy? Rand probably tried to make it a philosophy. Yeah. Can I be honest with you? I've only ever read one Rand book. Yeah. Well, you know, I don't understand what I say even after I say it sometimes. Alcohol and... Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of alcoholism in my family. It's very unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that about your mother. It is something that affects people's lives, right? So I've always tried to be careful of it myself. Read one Rand book, you've read them all? Apparently so. But I picked the wrong one. I think I picked Anthem, right? And I actually liked Anthem. I didn't like the message of Anthem. But I did like Anthem because it was a very cool science fiction story where technology was outlawed, and I was like, yeah, I like this. I can get behind this. Nothing more advanced than a candle? Yeah, that's my kind of living. Says the VTuber who is playing a game on a Switch console while live streaming it over the internet. Yeah, I know. I can't compete, right? I can't break away. Breakaway societies don't work. Because they can't outcompete societies that use technology. Isn't that right? Someone that I can't name for fear of being put on watch lists again. Yeah. I'm one cabin away. I feel. Okay, I'm not going to do what he did. I still think that was wrong, doing what he did. I won't even say it. But I will say, some of his ideas were, I think, important enough to address. Right? Like the power process. I think that's a very interesting idea. And I wish more people would, discuss the power process. The paradigm or the theory of the power process seems to be a powerful one, right? We can predict all sorts of things from it. Like social discontent. And I think there is a lot of social discontent because there's a lot of escapism in the modern world. Only vaguely familiar with it? Yeah, some of it gets rambly, right? Like, some of it gets very rambly. But I think the power process is a good idea. And something that needs to be probably looked into a little bit more than it has been. There are scholars out there looking into it. Redefining the idea or refining his works. I don't know if that's necessary. I think maybe you could do it from a culture of, I don't know, cognitive authority? Maybe? I don't know. But just looking at how people are disconnected from, I guess, what makes living possible. They're disconnected from actually living and saying, you know what? Maybe there's a problem with people not having sunshine or not eating food that isn't made of preservatives and artificial coloring and made by their own hands. Or, maybe technology is making us sedentary, right? Like, there is a period of adaptation to any social, or not social, any environmental change, right? Either you adapt to it, or your species dies off. That's how it's always worked in nature. I'm not a social Darwinist. I just like the idea of using natural selection when discussing humans. But please do not take that as social Darwinism. I'm merely discussing the general theme that societies are always adapting, and individuals in societies are also adapting. You can look at it at any level you want to, right? You can look at societies or cities, towns, countries even, nations, as the organism that has to adapt. Or you can look at the smaller individual parts, the individuals, or, whatever else. I think it's a very useful paradigm, because there has to be something adapting. And when it is adapting to whatever stimuli has changed, you're going to expect some kind of response. I won't say fittest survive, right? I know there's a lot of charged language and people misunderstand that. I will say that people who have adaptive strategies tend to do better when there are environmental changes in societies, right? Sociologist, social Darwinism is practically a trigger word? Yes. See, it's a very charged thing. Yes. Well, it is such a charged thing that I have to try to think during a time when I can't actually think very well. You know what I mean? I agree. It has all this baggage to it, but I like the model of selective pressures, right? And adaptation. That's all. Issue of power and suppression. Oh, absolutely. It isn't natural. That's the other thing, right? Like, this isn't natural selection. This is very artificial, right? This is like human selection. Humans are part of the environmental causes. And not all humans either. Typically, some humans have more power than others. A lot more power in some cases. Probably more than they should, right? I don't want to get too political, but I absolutely agree. That's why it's only a model, right? That's why I'm only saying that this part needs considered. Yeah. Not that I'm saying this is how you have to look at things, and it's black and white. Far more than they should. Well, you said it, and I'll repeat it, but I don't necessarily endorse. I don't necessarily not endorse, but probably endorse. Yeah, things are not how I would like them to be, and they've never been how I would like them to be, you know? Things have, for as long as I've been aware, not been how I want them to be. And it's troubling, right? I didn't even have an idealistic phase. I was just straight into cynicism. I've actually become more idealistic as I've aged. Not that I think that anything can be done, but more that I think these people are mostly incompetent, and a lot of things will just get glossed over because they don't know any better, right? Like, that's my hope, that a lot of people just don't know any better, despite having the power they have, and that they won't actually enact changes that will affect most people because of that, even when they could. even when it would be more efficient toward their goals, right? But that's typically how I feel about things. The people in power are probably incompetent. Yeah, and that's the best I can hope for. I always thought to myself, I would hate to run for office. Any kind of office, I would hate it. There's no benefit to it. And I think any decent person would come to the same conclusion that there's no benefit to running for office, right? Like, think of all the stress you have to deal with from predecessors and inheriting baggage from past administrations. First of all, I wouldn't get elected. No one would elect me. I wear a tinfoil hat every day. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't see it. I think it's just the best I can hope for is massive incompetence, such that the gridlock of infrastructure keeps everything from worsening just ever so slightly slower than it otherwise would. I remember reading another science fiction short story called The Machine Stops, where a machine that took care of everyone's needs was slowly breaking down, and no one knew how to fix it, so they all starved in their little isolation pods, except for one person who managed to get out. That's what I think society is, for the most part. Uh-huh. It is a very stressful job. They don't have as much power as people think either, or they shouldn't. Oh, they should not. I really... I shouldn't talk about politics. I'm gonna say one thing about politics, and one thing only. Executive orders are not meant to create laws. They're meant to create national parks, or, I don't know, not federal reserves, federal wildlife preserves, or, you know, maybe a new holiday. And what's been happening, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. The trend over the last, I don't know, 20, 25 years or so, it's just very frightening that all of these systems are about conglomerating power where it should not be. I see the machine stopping, is what I'm saying. It's a very frightening thing when the checks and balances have been upset as much as they have been. And it's not just one branch. And yes, this is US politics. I am sorry. I'm going to stop talking about it after this. It is a systemic issue. Yeah. Yeah, the power of abuse is much, much too great. I'm sorry. There are systems in place that if other systems were not being abused, could be utilized for that very purpose. Unfortunately, we keep adding bubblegum to the machine to make sure it sticks together, instead of just removing all of the bubblegum and replacing the machine parts like we should. You can interpret that however you want. I think bubblegum can actually be a quick fix to a lot of problems, like a leak in a boat. You can use bubblegum to fix that temporarily. Sure, why not? Should you? Probably not, no. Where do we want to fish today? Catch salmon. Tell you what, New York the lake. Bubblegum, duct tape, tire repair glue. Ooh. Ooh, I do not like tire repair glue. This is a nice lake. Really nice lake. I'm used to having a run button, but I don't have one. Let's fish here under the bridge. Under the bridge, fish like to congregate. Under the bridge. Can we fish there? Can we not actually fish there? I don't think we can fish there. Oh, we can fish there. Ducks. You love ducks? I don't mind ducks. Whenever I go fishing in real life, I don't like ducks because they tend to be on the water. They're not herbivores, right? Like, a lot of people don't know this about ducks. It does have a lot to say. A lot of quacking. Ducks are not herbivores. If it gets too loud, tell me and I'll turn it down on my end. I don't actually hear it going through though. I'm using the audio through my device instead of my microphone. I should probably do that through my microphone. I just don't like hearing myself. I don't mind hearing myself when I'm editing videos, but when I'm talking, yeah, there's a duck right there. Right there. That's exactly what they do. In real life when I'm fishing, they'll swim through the water, eating minnows, go after my bait, whatever else. Constant duck. You know what? I don't like this place. I don't like ducks. I got chased by a swan once, and I still have bad memories about that. Oops, nope, wrong one. Free fishing. We'll go to Yorkshire Dales. Yeah, it doesn't look like it have ducks. It has a waterfall. But yeah, the ducks would always swim through my line of bait. Now let's go up to the waterfall. Waterfalls are a great place to find fish. Like, not in the waterfalls themselves. That's way too turbulent, right? Fish need steady water. They can't breathe turbulent water. They get bruised and beaten up. But you want to look downstream from the waterfalls, say where the rocks are. Right there where that snag is would be a great place in real life. There's some nice cover for rocks. And anywhere throughout these rock fields would be a great place to start fishing. Not so much up here, though. Although, this is a nice boulder. Maybe there. Ducks are adorable. I'll give you that. Except in real life, you ever look into the biology of a duck? They have some very interesting biology. Especially their reproductive biology. And the pressures that shaped that reproductive biology. I will never unknow that fact, right? Like, I wish I didn't know the things I know about ducks. Because they are cute. And the way they, swim around and eat their little aquatic snail stuff. Yes, male ducks, very much so. Preaching to the choir here, right? What did I catch? A perch? Yeah, that makes sense. Perch tend to be closer to the shore most of the time in my experience. So that makes perfect sense. I don't know. I probably shouldn't move from politics to talking about male duck anatomy. Tonight is one of those nights, right? Things are just going to be a little bit strange. I'm very happy to report that my computer has not crashed yet, and that my battery has remained fully charged despite me streaming this. So, I don't know. This is actually serving as a stress test for me as well. I wasn't sure how my computer would respond to this, right? I thought there's a possibility that my computer will just drain abnormally quickly, and maybe then I wouldn't have the ability to actually stream for too long. Happy to say that's not the case. It is possible to stream. I will say, however, it is concerning that that's a possibility. Solidified at high school. Zoology where we hatched ducks? Oh. You got to hold a newborn duck. They're very fluffy, right? With their newborn down feathers. They're very fluffy. I'll give you that. Look at that salmon. That's a very strange mouth for a salmon. You know what? The developers did the best they could. Yeah. There is something about holding a baby animal that just makes you enjoy that animal so much more. I think it's biological for the most part, right? There is a biological drive to protect and nurture small things with large eyes, especially cute ones. No one wants to hold a baby centipede after it hatches, right? Probably not. Okay, maybe someone does, but very few people. No one wants to nurture a baby centipede after it hatches, but a baby duck? Absolutely. Chicks are very common, right? Me with cats. Yes, exactly. You with cats. Cats are one of those things. I think cats are almost universal. And also how toxoplasmosis is infesting about a third of our populations. I think that has something to do with it too. I was reading a study about, it was a small scale study. I think it was about 60 to 100 participants. I can't remember. Come to Hyde for all of your misinformation needs. Yeah, I was reading a study about toxoplasmosis infection, and the authors were looking for uh, a host of variables, relations with toxoplasmosis infection and other things. And one of the correlates that they found was higher facial symmetry, right, in males. Specifically in males, males who were infected had higher facial symmetry than non-infected males in their study size. Study and sample size. No, study. Let's just say study population, right? Probably got it. Oh well. Yeah, you get to love cats more. And you might also look better because of it. Right? Isn't that great? Science says that you might look better. Although it was a very small sample size. I think it was 60 to 100. That's still saying something, right? Like that could be reproduced. And maybe they'll find new correlations too. Like it used to be, oh yeah, you get infected, maybe you have a higher risk-taking percentage than non-infected individuals. Now, you also get to be handsome. Maybe even pretty, right? I do think there is a potential bias there. No, I'm potato. That's okay, we can all be potatoes. You know the nice thing about potatoes? Uh, Potatoes make pretty vines, and then they make the pretty tubers, right? Potatoes are great. Everybody loves potatoes. Um, what was I talking about? Completely lost my train of thought. That'll happen, right? I was talking about risk-taking behavior and how it was potentially influenced. I was talking about facial symmetry. Oh, the bias. Bias in the study. I don't know if they actually addressed it because I never finished reading it. It's a big salmon. But one of the issues I took with that was I don't know if they actually normalized for, the wealth bias, right? Like, historically, people in the upper classes, nobility, have either been inbred or they have chosen very attractive mates because that's just what they did. So there's a possibility that that's at play. Uh, Better off families tend to have pets. They have the ability to afford pets. Now, I don't think that's necessarily all there is. I think that anyone who can afford a pet is probably better off than anyone who can't when it comes to family resources. And family resources also affect things like nutrition. And nutrition will affect symmetry and development, things like that. Distracted by potatoes. I am distracted by potatoes. I like potatoes. But you know what? I like sweet potatoes better. I like sweet potatoes a lot. One of my favorite ways to eat sweet potatoes is to steam them whole. I poke little holes in them with a fork, and then I get my bamboo steamer out. Half an hour to an hour, depending on the size. And they're so good that way, you know? Like all the sugars start caramelizing, and yes, I said caramelizing. What do you prefer? I say caramelizing. I say caramel. It's fine. The reason consolidating wealth and power, keeping family ties limited to a few families makes less ties to spread. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying that I'm not sure if they accounted for that in their study, right? Like, I wonder if the socioeconomic status was included in that kind of thing. I don't know. But I know a lot of families probably can't afford to keep a pet, right? So they're not going to be infected. So you're going to have a biased sample of people with lower socioeconomic status not being infected, and also going to have that correlation of not getting the proper nutrition, potentially affecting their facial symmetry or what else. Social theories, yeah. You're absolutely right. We were discussing social theories, how about that? I completely forgot my train of thought. See, when you're a streamer, I don't know, maybe you stream, I don't know, maybe you stream. But if you're a streamer, the streamer brain rot, as it's called, is real. And there's this, like, need to keep talking. Even if you haven't processed your words entirely. I do rely on filler words way too much in my streams. Things like, and what was I talking about? But in my case, I really do forget what I was talking about. It is a subconscious kind of thing, where words are just vomited out of my mouth. And I have no idea what's going on. From ducks to potatoes to generational inbreeding. So back to ducks, all in just 10 minutes. Yep, that's the kind of content you're gonna get around here. It's great, right? Where else are you gonna get content like that on YouTube? This is really a nice place. Like, I haven't talked about it, but this environment is probably the nicest looking environment that we've seen yet. This waterfall into this nice rocky outcropping, this rocky riverbed, with the nice downed trees. It just looks nice, right? And even the trees don't look that bad. Like, there are some environments in this game, some locations, where there are just wall-to-wall trees of PNG. And you can really tell. But in this one, like, all of the trees are individuals. And, yeah. The waterfall doesn't look great. I'll give you that. But it's something. And there are lighting physics here, right? There's reflection. It's something. I really like this. If I were going to fish in any of the places that I've played at, in all of these chatterbait streams, this would be the place I would go in real life. Yeah. I bet there'd be very nice salmon or trout here. Obviously, in the game, there are salmon. I don't know. So, after today's stream, I think we can go back to working on that computer, seeing if I can get Linux operating on it. I don't know if I'll be able to. It'd be great if I could. But I would settle for getting my graphics card drivers to actually work in Windows 7. You know, I had to look at archives, like Internet Archives, just to dig up some of these resources. The fish is right there. Let me grab it. Just let me reach out and grab the fish. Please, I'm not reeling it any further. Did I snag or something? Nope. Please. Please. Please, it's right there. Hello? Okay. You know what I was saying about this being the nicest place that I've played in so far? I don't take it back. But, I don't know how to feel about what just happened there. I really don't. Yeah. Oh, I guess I should talk about, next week. So next week is, North American... No. Next week is US Thanksgiving. Yeah. Canada's weird with their Thanksgiving. But, USA Thanksgiving next week, Thursday. I have family coming into town, so I'll probably be spending a few days, not making content, even if I get my computer working. I won't be making content. I will be spending time with family, which seems to be one of those social needs, right? I have less of those than a normal person, but I gotta make an appearance at least. It's all for the food, really. Yeah. Nothing like good Thanksgiving food, where you can just gorge yourself on everything you want. So content might be a little sparse, for the next week or two. I might not even be able to stream next weekend, unfortunately. We'll see. I'll try, right? I have one video recorded in my backlog. If I can bother to edit it together into a decent format, a decent length, it's gonna take some doing. But if I can do that, I will release it next week. If I can't, I'm sorry. I'll do what I can, right? That's all I can offer. What I have the free time to do. Because I really do have to focus on the holidays coming up. Like, I haven't even started holiday shopping yet. I haven't. Hyde this year. And I haven't started holiday baking yet. And I've got to do things for, well, other things as well. I've got a lot on my plate this year. Looking back, I don't think I was this busy last November when I was just starting out with streaming, right? It was a couple months into it. It was probably August that I started streaming. So November is a couple months. Just a couple. And yeah, I don't remember being so busy last year. Once a year, gotta prioritize. Yeah, that's how I feel about it, right? I do apologize, though. Like, I like being here. I like offering content. I like sharing my time if you want it. But, yeah. Sometimes real life gets in the way, right? Like, I can't hook up my brain to a computer. Mostly because I don't trust my computers. Oh, ooh, good stream hiccup there. Very good. So I don't trust computers at all. Because I can't trust my computer. I can't trust any computer. Right? So if I could hook up my brain, a brain in a jar situation, and just have it stream constantly, hey, first of all, I don't think anyone would actually enjoy that. Like, stream of consciousness Hyde is already pretty bad. Could you imagine brain in a jar, no filters Hyde? Oh yeah, that would get crazy. Do I trust my brain? Less and less as I age. That's the thing, right? I don't trust my brain. In fact, I actively distrust my brain. If you think about it, everything that you experience is just a painting created by your brain, right? Every sensation, whether it be taste, touch, smell, or sound, any of them, those are all just electrical impulses sent along nerves, in which get interpreted by the brain. They're not real. None of it's real. You're living in a simulated reality, people. Wake up. Put your tinfoil hats on. We're going digital. We're already digital. But really, we do live in a simulated reality, in the sense that your brain is simulating all of these experiences that you're not directly experiencing, right? Yeah. They're just... What you're experiencing are these electrical impulses that get interpreted by different parts of the brain. And then it weaves it together in some kind of coherent story. Like a painting. With different senses. Yeah. It's fascinating, really. But there is no reason to trust it. And every reason not to trust it. So no, I will never trust my brain. But that doesn't mean that, that doesn't mean I don't trust it more than I trust a computer, right? Yeah. I think I trust computers probably a little bit less than I trust my brain. Probably shouldn't, right? Like a perfectly operational computer is probably more trustworthy than your brain. It can definitely store information a lot more perfectly. But can it store as much information as the brain? No. Not yet. Well, maybe some computers. Oh, another hiccup. Fantastic. Some computers might have the capability of storing that much information. Am I actually reeling anything in? Or am I just snagged? I think I was... Oh, no. No, I was reeling in fish. That's how it goes in real life sometimes, right? You're not sure if you're actually reeling in a fish or if you're snagged on the bottom. In this case, we had a fish. It happens to me all the time. I go out fishing. Every year, I feel so rusty. And then I just don't know how to fish. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know how to tie knots. I have to fix myself every single year. Another great reason not to trust my brain. That it forgets all of these important things, right? Is that a fish bite? I don't remember what a fish bite feels like on my fishing rod. And I use ultralight tackle, right? That sounds pretty cool, right? Ultralight tackle? It is not ultralight. It is fiberglass, which I guess is lighter than metal. But is it ultralight? It's very thin. It's flexible. I think that's all it means to be ultralight. Everyone gets rusty with time. Yeah, getting rusty is one thing, but completely forgetting how to do things, and then spending like 2 days beforehand trying to remember how to tie fishing knots, I think that goes beyond rusty. I'll be honest with you. If you told me to tie a tie right now, I couldn't do it. I used to be able to tie ties. Full Windsor, 4-in-hand, all those kind of nice tie knots. Even bow ties. I was very good at tying bow ties. And I have an extensive collection of bow ties. So I used to be very keen on tying bow ties. Nowadays, I can't tie any kind of tie. Even though I've been crocheting for like a decade. Oh yeah! Double check common types of crochet stitches. Crocheting's hard. I learned a little bit. And I really can't do it very well either. So you have my sympathy at the very least. Although I can't express empathy because I do not know the extent of that kind of pain. It is... It requires far more finger dexterity than I think I have. My fingers are not made to be that dexterous, right? Like, I think I got the Mediterranean hands, where I'm supposed to have, like, a fishing rod at the best, maybe a hammer, some kind of meat mallet. Love crocheting. You used to have an Etsy shop. Very cool. No time or energy. Not cool. There's some nice things on Etsy. Like, a lot of people think Etsy is, mostly a scam website. But it's not. There are cool things on Etsy. And, it's a great way to supplement your, business money. Your income. Your business money. Yes, those are words. Supplement your income if you have a skill that's marketable. I'll be honest with you. I have a crocheted trilobite. Or maybe it was knitted. It might be knitted. Could be knitted or crocheted. That I got from Etsy. I didn't make it, but I have it. Because it's cool, right? And I wouldn't have that cool thing. Because no one makes those kind of cool things. Except for small makers and, indie... I guess indie makers would be a thing. Small business owners. Unfortunately, tax regulations are what they are nowadays, and small businesses are pretty much screwed. Depends on the seller. Yeah, that's true. Like, some things are clearly manufactured professionally, right? And some things are higher quality. Handmade items, right? And it's very hard to tell sometimes when you're buying on Etsy these days. A while ago, Etsy used to be just like a person, a family, just making a business and selling their goods online. Like, someone wants knitted or crocheted trilobites? Sure, they'll sell them. Yes. Unfortunately, that is my experience with Etsy too. That a lot of companies now are masquerading as handmade goods salesmen, salespeople, sales places, whatever the right word is for on Etsy as some kind of small shop when they're actually getting their materials, their goods, from factories, or worse, sweatshops. Wasn't bad, but yeah, it wasn't bad. I don't know, maybe 5 years ago is when I started noticing it. A lot of Chinese suppliers. And I have nothing against Chinese goods. I'll put that out there. My microphone's Chinese. um, that sounds a lot worse than it is. But I don't have any problems with the quality of the goods. Although there are some places that sell some very poor quality stuff. That's another thing that's dependent on the seller, not the location of origin, right? I want to be very clear about that. It's on the seller and not the location of origin. Alright? There are plenty of good companies out there all over the world making good things. You can't just say something is garbage based on where it's made. I don't like that. But I will say that there were a lot of Chinese sold goods that were clearly manufactured in big factories of lower quality, right? Yeah. And that was probably 5 years ago when I started noticing that. And I just couldn't trust Etsy anymore, you know? Like, I didn't know if I would get what I ordered. Like, there's a lot of that on a lot of shopping websites nowadays, right? It's not just Etsy, it's all over the place, where the market seems to be flooded by these fake stores. It reminds me of things like ghost kitchens. You know what ghost kitchens are? So like Mr. Beast Burger operates out of a ghost kitchen. 9 out of 10 times. There's not a physical location. It is a business in your area that already has some kind of food business, and they're just cooking Mr. Beast products and applying Mr. Beast packages, which is another can of worms. I don't want to talk about Mr. Beast. The topic of ghost kitchens is insane to me. Amazon is awful. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even like ordering food online. Like, there are very few places where I could do that. But, I don't like doing it. I don't like the idea of it. I would rather a place have a physical address and be a real business. I don't like the idea of ghost kitchens, and I don't like fake businesses in Amazon, because there are a lot of them in Amazon, right? And it is awful nowadays, where you don't get the product that you actually order, or the quality that you actually wanted, or paid for. Everything is just less transparent the more technology is allowed to reign supreme as it is. And again, I know I'm doom and gloom about technology, but I don't actually think technology's all that bad. I think there are plenty of opportunities for technology to fix itself, or to offer something of better value than what we lose through using it. Oh yeah, I didn't even consider that. There probably was a major uptick during the pandemic, which was about 4 years ago. So about 5 years is probably right. Uh, can you believe that? It's been 4 years. No one talks about the lockdowns around me anymore, right? Well, they didn't really care about the lockdowns in the first place. But no one talks about it. Like we've just all collectively forgotten that we were forced to stay indoors for who knows how long. Ah, that was fun. Um, but it's kind of just a memory blank culturally, right? In my experience. It's very fascinating that no one just talks about it. I guess in the end, like, what are you going to talk about? Yeah, I was at home. I watched Netflix, and Amazon got a lot richer because of me. Mainly because I started grad school. Oh, that's bad timing. That's really bad timing. Couldn't be helped. You're absolutely right. You know, I'm happy that you managed to get, you know, things going despite the pandemic. Like, I'm really sorry that timing happened to you. but it's a good thing that you actually decided to go through with it. Like, you could have just said, no, no, I don't want to go out. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to make others sick, or whatever else. But you decided to go through with your schooling plans, which is great. I think everybody ought to go as far in their education as they want to, right? Always take the opportunity to do your education. Yeah. That's my advice. If you want higher education, take any opportunity you can to get into higher education, because you might not have that opportunity later. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly part of it, right? A lot of programs did put admissions on hold, especially programs for physical students, right? There were a lot of programs that said, yeah, we can do telecommunication and online learning courses, but that'd be about it. Am I stuck on a rock or something? I know I have a fish on the end of the line. Can I get it to move? I don't know. But yeah, I'm really glad that you got in, and you got to studying. I really do think that's great. I wish more people could, yeah, educate themselves, go through with their educations to a point where they feel satisfied when they feel satisfied. I think that's great. Yeah. Like, I'll be honest here. I did not end my education on a happy note myself. I tried for grad schools. It was just such a narrow program that, yeah, it didn't work out. The timing of it, the funding of it. Like, who's gonna fund invertebrate paleontology in the modern era? You don't need it for anything anymore. It's just academic interest, right? That's how I see it. There's always going to be a very limited number of vertebrate paleontologists able to study dinosaurs, for example. Yeah, slots for grad schools are extremely limited, right? Programs are very competitive, and it doesn't matter if you as a candidate are good. What really matters is getting the opportunity to even apply to a place that has openings, right? Like, a lot of times funding just doesn't exist for new grad students in certain, I don't want to call them fields, but specialties. That was my experience. Like, if I was told that if I changed my specialty, I could possibly get in. That's a completely different can of worms. I don't want to change my specialty. I wanted to study what I wanted to study. So I always say that it's a good thing that you can if you want to, and you get in. Always take the opportunities, you know? Opportunities do not come around all the time. Oh yeah. Yeah, oh, I hated the GRE. I really hated the GRE. That's not bringing back good memories. I scored well enough, but yeah. That's about all I'm gonna say on the GRE. But I am happy that, you got in when you got in. Always better sooner than later. Who knows, you know? Like, there are so many things going on in the world. You just never know. Yeah. I feel like I am stuck. Please, fish. Reeling against a rock. They're clever, you know? These fish. They got against the rock, they snagged. That's exactly what happens in real life. Did you just drop the fish? Excuse me? Where's my fish? Should be here. Show me the salmon. Okay. My brain is fried. I hope you enjoyed this. I don't know. I don't know what happened this stream, but it was fun. We're gonna end it here, though. You know? Ugh, I had a great time, and I hope you did too. But we're gonna end it here, yeah. Again, just before we end it though, probably will not be a stream next week. Do not look for one. If there is one, it won't be good anyway. Wait for the next week. Actually, next week's gonna be December. I'll probably have a stream the week after. Even with Hyde pan fried. You know what? Coat my brain in a little bit of flour and fry it in some butter. I bet it'd be delicious. That'd be the best use of my brain. Yeah, being a good meal. Anyway, thank you for showing up, thank you for chatting, thank you for being here. Yes, lurkers too. I love you all. Good night. And for now, Hyde out.